guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to Random Lifestyle Vlog. If you're new here, my name is Paulina and this channel is all about beauty. I'm just about to get myself ready for a Halloween party and I thought this was a great opportunity to test this new Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, and this is Fall Romance. So I decided to do this video for you guys so that you can get ready with me, and at the same time we're going to have a closer look at this new palette. Okay, so without further ado, let's just start. I have my skincare done already. I've also applied a primer. This is the one I use. This is Figs and Rouge Hydra Matte Pore Corrector Velvet Cream. So we're going to start with a foundation. The one I'll be using today is Makeup Forever Reboot. So I tend to use just a little bit of foundation because I do use quite a lot of concealer. So I don't really want to have like too many layers or too thick layers in general. So just a little bit of foundation. I can always add a little bit more if I decide that I need to. I really like this foundation because it gives this very natural finish. Medium coverage and natural finish is my go-to, so I always choose something that will give me that effect. So now it's time for concealer. I'm using NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in shade Light 2.8, and it's not really particularly light. My skin is medium, and this concealer is like maybe one tone lighter than my skin tone. So yeah, so as you can see, I applied a little bit in my inner and outer corner, but I'm going to drag my concealer a little bit like down towards my mouth, and that's because I have this redness on my cheeks that just comes and goes. It appears out of nowhere sometimes, so I always have to be prepared for that. That's why I prefer to apply my concealer in this kind of like a larger triangle shape. This way it's going to blend out nicely with this redness. If I apply my concealer only under my eyes, this is going to actually accentuate my like kind of like red cheeks, and that doesn't look good, trust me. Also, this way of applying your concealer lifts your face a little bit too. It doesn't mean that you have to use like a lot of concealer. It just means that you kind of like blend it out a little bit like further. So now I'm going to blend this out, and I'm going to blend it to my eyelid as well. I don't really like eye primers that much because they tend to dry my skin, but the concealer actually works perfect as a primer, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's add some more concealer over here on the bridge of my nose and a little bit on my chin as well. And I'm obviously going to blend this all out. Okay, to set this concealer, I will use a brush. I always do that. I tried sponges and things like that, and it doesn't really seem to work nice for me. It just kind of looks very unnatural. So brush, and I'll be using this shade over here from my Hourglass Butterfly palette from last year. So this is a finishing powder. It's definitely too light to set my whole face, but it works really nicely on my concealer. It's going to brighten this area a little bit, which is what I kind of want. So yeah, I apply like everywhere I applied my concealer. Okay, so I don't always do like proper contouring, but since this is an evening look, I will do a little bit of that, and I'm going to use this Milk Makeup matte bronzer, and I like to use it to add some contour to my face. So I'm just going to apply a little bit like under my cheekbones. Same here. A little bit to the tip of my nose. I'm going to add a little bit here just to kind of look more, you know, chiseled. And since I have quite a big forehead, I'm just going to apply a little bit here. So let's blend everything out. Here, I'm just going to blend it here too to kind of like minimize my double chin. That looks better. There. And I'm going to blend my forehead as well into my hair, so that you can't really see where the makeup ends. Now I feel a bit better about myself, to be honest. It is interesting to see your like bare face in front of camera with those like two massive lights shining at you. So I'm glad we have that part out of the way. Okay, I think it's a good time to do my eye makeup. Then I'll be able to kind of choose my blush and highlighter and everything else based on the eyeshadow look I'll make. So let's have a closer look at our palette. So just to remind you, this is the new Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, Fall Romance, that's the name of it, and this is what it looks like. I really like this velvet packaging, and I really like the color, and these are the shades. They look really pretty, they're very autumnal, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering whether this was a good decision to use this palette for my Halloween party makeup look. I mean, this is quite a dark palette and it might not be as foolproof as I would expect it to be. I mean, worst case scenario, I can just apply some like fake long lashes that will just cover my makeup if it doesn't look the way I want it to, right? Okay, anyway, let's not worry about that now. Let's do the swatches. I need to remember to remove those swatches from my hand before I go. Okay, so we're starting with Smoke. Oh, that's a really lovely swatch. Then we have a Moonlight. Okay, this one doesn't really seem to be visible at all. Fireside is the next one, so let me just think. This one is nice. Then we have a Divine. Okay, so out of these 4 swatches, 3 swatched really nicely. This Moonlight shade that's invisible, it seems to be more of a topper, but at the same time it does feel quite dry, so I'm not really sure how it's going to work, but we'll see. Then we have Crown, Ember, Leather, and Thorns. I'm not going to lie, but these 2 mattes, they do feel a little bit underwhelming. I mean, obviously these are just the swatches, they might look much better in a real life situation, but you know, I've experienced so many lovely mattes from Anastasia Beverly Hills that I know she can do much better. Okay, we have a last 4 shades now. So we have Crimson, Midnight, Mulberry, and the last one is Twilight. So there you go, these are the swatches. What do you think so far? I have like mixed feelings. Like some of these shades are not as good as I would expect them. Like we have some mattes. I think they were like, yeah, these 3 mattes over here. They're not particularly, they didn't really swatch that well. But then we have like some other mattes here that are much nicer quality. This kind of like a pink topper shade, it's not really visible, so I'm not like super excited about that one. But then we have some really lovely swatches here as well, like these 2, and then this dark one over here with a shimmer. These are really pretty. Okay, let's just try it out and hope for the best. So I'm going to use this lightest matte shade in this palette, which is Leather over here. And I'm going to apply it in my, oh, actually that is quite pigmented, on my eyelid, which is good. I'm going to apply it in my crease. So that is surprising, but in a good way. Judging by the swatch, I did not really expect much from this shade, but it is quite pigmented. But with that being said, I also need to mention that look how dark this lightest matte shade is on my eyelid. So obviously if you have a very light skin tone, you might need some like extra shades to create a cohesive look with that. Unless you really like a very dark makeup, then that's fine. Okay, so let's use this one over here, which is Crimson, and I'm going to apply it in my outer part of my eyelids. Okay, the pigmentation is really nice. I honestly, you know, judging by those swatches, I kind of expected this to be quite patchy, but no, it actually applies really nice on my eyelids, so that's good. Okay, so something I'm going to do out of curiosity, just like a pure experimental situation, I'm going to use this Mulberry shade on top of that. Obviously it does seem lighter than Crimson in a pot, but when you look at the swatches, this is the Crimson shade and this is Mulberry, so it does seem to be much more pigmented and actually darker on the swatch. So out of pure curiosity, I'm just going to apply a little bit of that here in my outer corner. And yes, that definitely adds more depth and even like a darker vibe to this makeup. So that looks really pretty. Okay, so let's just blend everything together. I kind of want to try as many shades as possible, but I don't really want to do anything like too crazy because I need to go out and see people wearing this makeup today. So obviously, you know, I have to be reasonable. Okay, let's do the lower lash line, and I already know that I'm going to go with greens. So I'm going to use these 2 shades, which is Thorns and Twilight. So first I'm going to apply Twilight, the dark green, in my outer corner. Just a little bit of that here. It is really dark. It's a really dark green. So just a little bit will be enough. As you can see, this is actually very pigmented. So I'm going to go ahead and use Thorns now, which is the lighter of those 2 greens, and I'm just going to apply it along my lash line here. To be honest, there's not really that much difference between these 2 shades. They're both very kind of like dark matte greens. Okay, let me just blend this lower lash line out. Do you know what? All the shades perform really nicely on my eyelids, but everything is very dark. So you're definitely going to get this proper autumnal, even Halloweeny look. Because everything is not only dark, but also very muted here. So we don't really get any of those like bright colors here, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I guess this was the idea behind this palette. Okay, let's add some sparkles. So I'm going to start with this one over here, Midnight, and I'm going to apply it with a brush. So I have this kind of like a denser brush. Hopefully this will work with a brush. And I'm going to apply this in this kind of like outer part of my eyelids. It does have a really nice pigmentation, but you know, just a word of warning, there might be some like serious fallout coming from it. So it is what it is. I really love how deep these shades are. So obviously I'm going to blend the edges here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this leather shade to kind of smooth out the edges here. Okay, so now I'm a little bit torn. I don't know which color to choose. Should I go for Smoke or Fireside? They both are stunning, and I thought Fireside would be an easy choice, but this Smoke shade swatched so nicely. Okay, let's just go ahead and use Fireside. So I'm going to apply this one with my finger, and I'm going to apply it like all over my eyelid, like inner corner up to like kind of like middle of my eyelid. And this looks stunning. This does look really pretty. This shade transfers really nicely and it definitely looks the part. So yeah, I love that. That was a good choice. So I'm going to apply it on my other eyelid as well. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. And as a last step, I'm going to use this shade over here, which is Crown. So I'm going to use a small brush and apply it in my inner corner. And I'm not sure if this was a right decision, but here we are. So guess there's nothing I can do about it now. Let's continue. So it does definitely look much greener on my skin than I expected, but I mean, it is what it is. I think I'm going to blend it together and it should look alright-ish, hopefully. So let's just repeat this on the other eye as well. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that properly, but at the corners of my eyes actually look very green, which is, I mean, kind of works, but at the same time, this is not what I was going for. So, I mean, it is what it is. I can live with that. I actually wanted to apply this on my brow bone as well. Glad I didn't, because that would be a disaster. I feel slightly tempted to use this Moonlight shade on my brow bone. I mean, it did not really swatch, like, at all. So, what can go wrong, right? Let's try it out. Let's try it out. We'll see if... it actually shows a bit on my brow bone. So I think this could be a good shade to put like on your brow bones or in your like inner corner. That should work quite nicely. So we've got that part out of the way and it looks alright. I'm definitely going to be able to go out and see people wearing this makeup, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing my makeup while I share my thoughts with you about this Anastasia Beverly Hills Fall Romance palette. And just to let you know, I'm doing my brows now with a pencil. I don't know what brand this is, to be honest, but this is one of those kind of like a thin pencils. So my thoughts about this palette. I mean, I think this is a really nice kind of like nighttime, because it does say it's supposed to be like a day to night palette. I don't really see that much of a potential as far as the daytime kind of looks go. I think this is definitely an evening, kind of like a long, wintry or autumnal evening palette. The shades are really nicely pigmented, but they are very dark and muted. And because of that, I feel like most of the looks that you're going to create with this palette are going to be quite similar. Because as you can see, all these shades are quite dark. I'm going to set my brows with this Anastasia Beverly Hills a clear brow gel. So this palette definitely has some really nice shimmers. Just bear in mind, some of them are like duo or trio chromes, and they might end up looking a little bit different on your eyelid from what you expected. That happened to me. So would I recommend it? I mean, I don't think this is a must-have. I don't think this palette is going to change like most people's lives. It's a nice palette, but it's not revolutionary. It doesn't really feel like I'm going to be able to create like multiple looks with that. And also this is strictly an kind of like evening palette. So unless this is your go-to look and you love your dark eyeshadows and, you know, like powerful shimmery shades, then I don't think this is something you necessarily need, or at least for a full price. I think you can definitely wait till Black Friday and get it 30% off, for example. Okay, so I'm going to use this Urban Decay Glide On Eye Pencil in shade Stash in my waterline. So I'm just going to apply it in my waterline and, you know, along my lower lash line. One thing I need to mention once again, the fallout in this palette, or in like most Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, to be honest, is a real thing. So if you're fine with doing your eye makeup first and then maybe doing your like face, then that's probably the best approach. I don't know, but I cannot force myself to do that. I always do my foundation first and then I have to deal with the fallout. So okay, time for my eyeliner, and the question is, will I be able to do this while talking to you guys? I don't know. This is Woman Cleopatra ink. Okay, so let's see. I mean, it's fine doing this along my lash line, but I'm a little bit worried about this kind of like wing part. Okay, and the other eye. Okay, the eyeliner is done. Let's do the mascara. What I'm using today is my mascara by Sculpted by Amy. So this is what it looks like. It has this curved silicone wand. This is one of those mascaras that I actually quite like because it does make my lashes visible. So it kind of lifts my lashes, adds some like volume, some length. So definitely one of those good ones. I don't know if you can see the difference, no lashes versus lashes. But yeah, I definitely need a powerful mascara for my lashes to become visible. And now my lower lashes, just a little bit. And voila. I don't know if you can see that, but the redness on my cheeks actually started appearing now. It is quite visible. But with the way I apply my concealer, it does look a little bit more natural, I would say. Okay, some finishing touches. I'm going to use a blush by Pat McGrath, and the shade is Desert Orchid, and I'm going to apply it where I usually apply my blush, which is like here towards my temple, and then the other side of my face as well. And then I'm going to use a highlighter from my Ofra palette. I think this is Rodeo Dry, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to apply it like here. These highlighters are very powerful, but I'm obviously going to blend it out so it's not going to look that shiny. So a fluffy brush, and let's just blend everything together. I have done some contouring before, so I decided to skip the bronzer, but I'm going to finish it off with this finishing powder by NARS. This is their Soft Matte Advanced Perfecting Powder in shade Creek. And this is such a good product. It does look really lovely on your skin, and it does make everything look so natural. And I always finish up with setting spray, not necessarily to make my makeup last longer, but to make it look more natural, more skin-like. So let's do that. And what I used here is Candy Cosmetics Pre-Glow Up Mist. So this is what it looks like. And the very last step is obviously going to be a lipstick. So I'll be using the Burberry Oxblood shade. That's what it looks like. And there you go, guys. This is my finished look for tonight's party. Thank you very much for being with me here today. Let me know what you think about this palette I tested. Have you tried it? If so, let me know your thoughts about it. Thank you very much for watching. For more makeup related videos, check the ones over here. I'm going to see you very soon. Take care. Bye.